gentlemen, boys and girls, curlies. Okay, promise you. See movie vtuber, the princess, the actor, the visionary of the world, OverExposedKaiju. And today, we're back on the reaction channel doing some more Fat Electrician. And we're gonna be listening to the Fat Electrician. Basically, like, he's gonna tell a story of the White Death. Last time we talked about Imo, the tweaker who took 30 pills of Pergidin and was basically tripping balls for 2 weeks in Finland, being hunted by Soviets. This time, we're going to talk about Simo, perhaps the most deadliest sniper to ever live, and probably the greatest sniper to ever live, the White Death. The Finnish sniper who killed over 500 Soviet Russians during World War II. So yeah, let's get into it. Before we get into that, make sure, if you're enjoying the content commentary on the channel, leave a like and subscribe. Join our business. Also, make sure you check out the Fat Electrician channel, and make sure you check out the video. I'll put the link to his channel and this video that we're reacting to in the cards below. So if you want to watch it without my commentary, you can. Make sure you leave him a like and subscribe over to his channel too, because he's awesome. He's hilarious. He's probably one of the best storytellers on YouTube. So he's worth the chance. So he's worth. If you're like a history guy and you like, or if you're like a military person and it just fascinates you, go check out Nick. Like, he's literally one of the best storytellers on YouTube. Okay, let's get into it.
I've been making YouTube videos for about 3 years now, and this is probably the most requested video ever. Today we're talking about the deadliest sniper of all time, Simo Häyhä, aka the White Death.
Yes.
The Finnish have a cultural concept known as Cisu, and if you look at it at a glance, it can be easily confused with like tenacity or
Cisu, noun. Extraordinary determination, courage, resoluteness in the face of extreme adversity. An action mindset, which enables individuals to reach beyond their present limitations, take action against all odds, transform barriers into frontiers. 3. An intellectual element in Finnish culture is also a universal capacity, which we all share. Cisu. Yeah, that basically sums up Simo to a T.
Grit, but it's more than that. Cisu isn't just your ability to grit your teeth and push through adversity. Cisu is the personality trait that allows somebody to intentionally and stoically allow themselves to be immersed with adversity until they either become immune to it or become the adversity themselves. And in 1939, when a 33-year-old, 5-foot-tall Finnish farmer named Simo found himself on the battlefield defending his home.
He was only 5 foot tall? Like, bro, that's crazy.
To it or become the adversity themselves. And in 1939, when a 33-year-old, 5-foot-tall
5 foot tall, 33 years old. Okay. All right. Okay. So because I'm 5'4", right? I'm 5'4". So he's about 4 inches smaller than I was, or am, whatever. And he's 33. He's 33 years old. Okay. So he's about 8 years older than I am currently at the time when he was in the service. Okay. Okay. Good to know.
Finnish farmer named Simo found himself on the battlefield defending his home, outnumbered 100 to 1, surrounded by death on all sides. Rather than succumb to it, he became death itself.
Nicholas, what is this?
That's the new CMMG BR4.
When did you get it?
I've had it?
Nice recovery.
No, I would have remembered something like this.
Okay, fine. I just got it, but I had to because it's the only one they Cerakoted to look like a Busch Light can.
So you got a new toy, what do I get?
I mean, what do you want?
I don't know. I'll do some shopping and I'll let you know. So have fun with the ad.
Mayday! Mayday!
There goes your ad money, Nick. Your wife just came and she's like, "Oh, I see you got this new gun, huh? Well, you see the ad money, huh? Hippity hoppity, that's not my property." Nick's wife just came by and he's like, "Mine now." Okay, we're gonna skip the ad. Skip the ad. Okay, chapter 1. don't know how to quit.
All right, Simo Häyhä. He was born on December 17th, 1905, and grew up on his family farm, which was right on the border between Finland and Russia. Now, when I say farm, people automatically think of like some dude in a baseball cap and overalls holding a pitchfork with rows and rows of corn in the background. It wasn't one of those kinds of farms.
Oh.
This is what you would call a forest farm, which is a lot more akin to like what we would call a homestead today. Basically, Simo grew up in a cabin in the woods, and they had a really
I love that movie, Cabin in the Woods. I love that movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. Cabin in the Woods, it's fantastic. I know it's not relevant to this video, but you said Cabin in the Woods, and I love that movie, so I had to mention it.
big garden, and they grew enough food for themselves and then had enough extra to like
To
take
sell,
to the
make a little
farmer's
make a
market
little
and
money.
sell for money. So
Okay.
Simo essentially grew up his entire life in this harsh, hilly, wooded, snow-covered, free
If they live in like this, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm dumb. But like, not only can you like sell crops, right? But like, you live in this like giant like woodland area. It's like, couldn't you like cut down some trees and maybe sell wood for and send that also sell it for at the markets too? A little extra cash. The only problem is trees take a while to grow. Okay, and it can take a couple of years for trees to grow. So I don't know, maybe not. Because what I was thinking maybe you could do is like obviously you grow your crops and make enough that you can like feed your family, and you have any leftovers you have, you go sell that at the market, and maybe you can like cut down a couple trees, like, maybe a couple trees, turn into firewood, and you can go sell the firewood at the market also. The problem is replanting trees because trees take a while to grow. Like trees, we've had a couple trees growing up, right? Where they take years. You have to constantly have to water them and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of it can be rough.
freezing environment. This is his baseline, okay? This doesn't suck to him. This is just your normal everyday stuff. Walking
his life.
uphill every direction through the snow is just a good day to
Yeah.
him. And this almost goes without saying, but I'll mention it anyways, that hunting was also a humongous part of how his family
Makes sense. You live in like a huge you live in like a big woodland area. There's deer and moose and rabbits and all that stuff. Running around. It's a good way to get maybe some furs for clothing, or maybe make some blankets out of it or something. You get some meat. You can make enough meat that you can make. Depending on how much you hunt, you could probably keep enough. You can have enough for winter, and maybe you can go sell some meat at the market, whatever.
put food on the table, and Simo did that from a very young age as well, hunting in this harsh environment.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Simo was pretty intimately acquainted with death at a young age. He had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. One of his brothers passed away in 1918 in the Finnish Civil War, and another one of his brothers passed away after suffering from heat stroke on a construction site.
What?
Simo is a member of one of the last generations.
When I think of Finland, I don't think of heat stroke. Like obviously, I'm sure I'm gonna assume it's not always cold at Finland year round. But like when you picture Finland, right? You just imagine snow everywhere, right? I guess you don't really think of it getting hot, really. So it's kind of just like I don't want to say funny because because like his brother died because of a heat stroke, but it just seems kind of weird. Because like you picture Finland in your head, you think of it as being like a snowy wonderland, right? So when you hear like somebody died of heat stroke in Finland, it just sounds weird, right? Crazy. Like I would believe that he died of like frostbite in a blizzard or something, more than like his brother passed away of heat stroke. Just because of the images you have of Finland in your head, right? Type of thing. But that's traumatic though, and that is sad. Oops. Didn't mean to double tap that.
It didn't have the luxury of quitting, okay? This guy was born, and the minute that he could walk, he was helping his family in their fight for survival. There was no quitting. There was doing or there was dying. And if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, the point I need you to get from this is Simo's a small guy. He's only 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
He's 110 pounds, but he literally doesn't know what quitting is. Things that me
That's like a
and you
skill.
would call horrific circumstances is just a Tuesday to him. It just doesn't even register that he should be having a
So he's just a badass. The guy's just he's just born a badass. He was just born built different.
bad time. He's literally just happy to be alive. At the age of 17, following in his older brother's footsteps, Simo joins the Finnish Civil Guard, which is equivalent to like the American National Guard. Essentially, they train on weekends and they'll train a couple weeks a year, being ready in case they need to be called up by their country, but the rest of the time he's just going back being a farmer. As a member of the Civil Guard, he is issued one of the most iconic military service.
So this is like his brother died in his eldest brother died in 1918. He said 1917, right? During like the Civil War, which I'm going to assume was during like when Finland was trying to get their independence from the Russian Empire / Soviet Russia. Because it was kind of like that. Because I believe it was like kind of like around the time when when Tsarist Russia, the Russian Empire, was kind of like the emperor was basically like he was forced to resign, and then like a bunch of the countries that were part of the Russian Empire started declaring independence, and then obviously after the Soviets won Civil War between like the whites and the reds, the white Russians, and like the reds were obviously the Soviets. Like I've heard like the whites were like the monarchists. I don't know if they're like for monarchy or whatever. If anybody knows and wants to like confirm that, so I'm gonna say the monarchist. The people kind of want the monarchy back, right? Or a republic, one of the two. Like because I think they're kind of like the people want like a republic and people who want a monarchy. We're kind of just like working together. Because the enemy of my enemies is my friends, and they both hated the communist, so they were kind of like working together to get rid of the Reds, the Russians, not the Russians, the Soviet, the commies. So his brother was fighting in like 1918, right after the Russians got out of like World War One, and then the emperor of Russia was forced to resign, abdicate, and then like a bunch of, like I said, like a bunch of these nations like Finland, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and basically like a bunch of other nations basically started declaring their independence from the Russians. Obviously, Russia would come back and reclaim a lot of that territory. But not Finland. At least not Finland actually stood up for themselves, and like repelled the Russians.
Rifles of all
yeah,
time,
anyways.
the Mosin Nagant, a bolt-action rifle. He's also issued a small amount of ammunition to train with, but because of budgetary restrictions, they decided it'd be more efficient to just issue all of the Civil Guard members the materials they needed to load their own ammunition. So Simo was also manufacturing his own ammo.
Oh, okay.
During his time in the Civil Guard, he receives awards for his excellent
That's a good skill to have too. Being able to like just manufacture your own, as long as you have like the resources, obviously. If you just like make your own ammo, that's huge.
skiing capabilities as well as his physical conditioning. He is not a big man, but the dude is the Energizer Bunny. He can just go forever. In addition to that, he also immediately becomes well known for being an excellent marksman. Before he received any formal shooting training,
didn't he? So if I remember right, didn't he used to like shoot at rats? Like basically, like he would like sit in his barn and just shoot at rats for like hours a day. Basically, it's like that's the guy like to train like his sharp sharp shooting skills. Cause like wasn't his like his barn like infested with rats or whatever? So like he would just like sit there for hours to shoot shoot at rats with like BB guns and like pellet guns and that type of stuff. And like he got like really good with his aim because of that.
from the military, he entered a regional shooting competition where they had to shoot a target 100 times from 300 meters with iron sights, and he had 93 out of 100 hits.
Dude, that's
he won
insane.
a ton of shooting competitions inside of the Finnish military, not just with his Mosin, but also with the Suomi M31 submachine gun. He very
What
quickly
the heck?
qualified for the title of master shooter within the Finnish military, and it is said that he was able to estimate range within the accuracy of 1 meter up to 150 meters away. Okay, that's literally a
Jesus.
superhuman ability. You could just point to something off in the distance and Simo could eyeball it and be like, it's like 89 meters away, and he was dead on every single time. And that's
That's
not even
crazy.
the scariest part. The scariest part was how fast Simo could operate his Mosin bolt-action rifle. He could fire his Mosin accurately, insanely fast. So fast that they actually wanted to time him one day. So
Okay.
his buddies got a stopwatch, and they were going to time to see how many times Simo could hit a target 150 meters away with his bolt-action rifle in the span of 60 seconds. Simo scored 16 hits in the span of 60 seconds with a bolt-action rifle.
He is the one.
And just so we're on the
He
same page,
is.
the
He literally is the one. He's just built different. Like, that's crazy. That's insane.
Mosin Nagant only holds 5 rounds in the magazine, meaning that Simo shot the first 6 rounds, because there was one in the chamber, reloaded, shot the next 5, reloaded again, and shot another 5, hitting the target 150 meters away with fucking iron sights every single time. Okay, if you don't know much about guns, this is the only bolt-action rifle I have, but he had to do something like fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, reload the gun, and then he did that 2 more times in 60 seconds with 100% accuracy. So
God
Simo is just
damn.
a natural superhuman level shooter. So this goes on for 2 years, and then at the age of 19, he ends up joining the Finnish active military, because at this point in time, Finland has mandatory service of 15
fair.
months. And Simo
It makes sense to have, like, you're a freshly independent nation from the Russian Empire, right? And you know, again, I'm not 100% sure what year this is exactly. Like, I'm gonna assume it's like the years following World War One, and in the years like following the Civil War, right? So it makes sense. Like, Finland is like an yeah, because if I remember right, I don't think Finland ever was like a fully independent nation. Okay, I'm back. I found it. Or I zoom in a bit. So, Finland right here. So this is just like the predecessor states of Finland, of like modern day Finland. Obviously, it's like, So it was part of the Kalmar Union, which was, kind of like a, it's kind of like an empire of sense with like most of the Scandinavian nations, and then it was part of the Swedish Empire / Swedish Kingdom for about a couple centuries, 1210 to 1809. And then there was the Grand Duchy of Finland. However, this is the predecessor to modern day Finland, right? But this was also part of the Russian Empire. Like, it was basically like a vassal of the Russian Empire. And they were part of the Russian Empire for about a little over a century. And then we have modern day Finland, which came to be in 1917 after Finland declared its independence from the Russian Empire, as the Russian Empire was kind of collapsing in a sense. After the emperor was like forced to abdicate. Sorry about that.
Guard and continues being a farmer. And that's pretty much all he's got going on for like the next decade. He's just in the Civil Guard, winning shooting competitions, going back home, taking care of his crops, and going hunting.
Okay.
November 26, 1939, an event known as the Shelling of Manila happens. The real quick, oversimplified version of this is essentially Russia wants to take over Finland. Finland isn't down with that, so
Russia basically is like it was trying to like recapture their empire. They were basically recapturing all of like the breakaway states that declared independence while the Russian Empire was kind of in turmoil after the abdication of like the Tsar, and during the Civil War, the Russian Civil War. Basically, like a bunch of like a bunch of like the countries that were part of the empire basically are declaring independence, like Finland, like Belarus, Ukraine, and a couple others, right? But yeah, so basically, you know, and then like after the Red Army basically like took control of the Russian state, became the Soviet Union. They basically like massive conquest and like recapturing all of like the territory that they lost during the Russian Civil War, of like the territories, declaring independence, that type of stuff.
Now has to come up with a reason to go to war with Finland. They can't find any legitimate reasons, so they fabricate one. Simply put, this is a false flag event. The Russian military shells near a Russian town near the border with Finland. They then turn around and say, well, actually, Finland is trying to shoot artillery at our town, so we're going to go to war with them. Finland obviously denies shelling the Russian town because, well, they didn't actually do it, and they offer over to Russia like, hey, we're willing to let a third-party independent investigator come in and determine what happened. We did not do this. Russia declines and then invades Finland 4 days later.
Oh no!
Russia sends in 450,000 soldiers to attack
Jesus.
Finland. Okay, to put that into perspective, the total population, not the military, the total population of Finland at this point in time is about 4 million people. So 25% of the entire Finnish population is getting sent in with guns to attack Finland. And those 450,000 Soviets are being backed up by the Soviet population of 168 million.
Seems fair.
Yeah.
Calling this a David versus Goliath type situation is putting it mildly. On paper, Finland doesn't stand a chance. But Finland does have a couple of things going for it because in the years leading up to this, Stalin conducted the Great Purge, essentially killing off.
Yeah, he killed off like all of the top generals. Yeah, like, he killed off or imprisoned like all of his top generals, and basically like anybody of competence that was in the military. Stalin started like purging them, either arresting them or executing them, because he just didn't trust them.
Off all of his high-ranking and knowledgeable military leadership because he was worried that they were going to try to overthrow him. So by and large, the Soviet military at this point in time is pretty incompetent. And
Fair.
the Finnish, well, they're Finnish. They've got that going for them. Okay, if you've read enough history, you know there's a couple of quick life hacks if you want to live a long, happy life, you know, like don't smoke, eat a good diet, never try to fight the Filipinos in the jungle, and
True.
never try to fight the Finnish people in the snow. It's
Fair.
just a bad time.
You merely adopted the
But you also don't fight the Russians in the snow, right? Like look at Napoleon and look at Hitler. Like they both fought the Russians in Russia in the winter, and it ended up bad for them. So like the same can be said about Russia. Like Russia, you don't want to fight Finland or Russia in the snow.
dark. I was born in it.
Now, for Simo at this point in time, he had just last year in 1938 gotten formal sniper training from the Finnish military. Not that he really needed it, but he does have that title now. And when the Russians attacked, Simo was actually out in the field doing a training mission with the Civil Guard, so he didn't find out the Russians attacked until the day after when he was immediately activated and put into duty. So he gets orders, reports to the front line, and his new company commander is a man by the name of Arne Utilainen, aka the Terror of Morocco.
Oh.
And this man, much like Simo, is a complete and absolute gangster, but instead of being a sniper like Simo is, he's a leader. He's leading men into battle that are going in heavily outnumbered. We're talking like 100 guys versus 5,000 men on the Kola front where they're fighting. So Utilainen's signature move, embracing Cisu and having no fear, would go out on the front lines in the middle of battle and sit in a rocking chair with gunfire and explosions going off, giving orders to his men to show them that they didn't have anything to fear. And Simo
Damn.
is now taking orders from this guy. Okay, shit's about to get real.
Chapter 3, The White Death.
So Simo shows up, they start digging trenches, laying out barbed wire, setting the front line. They end up fighting their asses off for 2 days straight. After that, they actually end up receiving orders to fall back a little bit, which they do. That becomes like Utilainen's thing. Like, we're not retreating unless we receive orders. We are going to stand here and fight till the bitter end.
Hold on, I might have misspoke. So I think the World War II thing with like the Soviets. I think it's the continuation war, right? Enter. Exact. Board. Okay, I thought it was the Winter War. Huh. Maybe not. I thought it was like the Winter War battles. I thought they had like a battle like before. Maybe not. Continuation war. Okay, hold on. Yeah, okay. So they start fighting in early World War II, and then they pick up start fighting again until there's the Winter War, and then there's a continuation war, which is basically like a continuation of the Winter War. So yeah, so technically it's the same. Okay. All right. So I wasn't right. So this is the Winter War, and then they have like a little ceasefire, and then they start fighting again in 1941.
And unless ordered to do otherwise by our superiors. So they fall back, and Utalainen
Or
knows that Simo
sorry, not World War One, World War Two. Sorry, that's just
is like from this area. Like his farm is right down the road. He knows the area, he knows the terrain. So he grabs Simo and he's like, hey, I need you to sneak behind enemy lines and start cutting all the telephone wires. To which Simo replies, and I quote, I'll try my best.
Oh,
and
nice.
Simo's best is absolutely enough. He sneaks behind enemy lines. He's cutting all the telephone wires, just wreaking havoc behind enemy lines. Ends up making it back completely unscathed, at which point Utalainen is like, okay, this dude's super sneaky. He knows the terrain. I'm just gonna make him like my go-to sniper for all my shit. Shortly after this, on the Kola front, where Utalainen is in charge, there is a Soviet sniper that keeps taking out platoon leaders, okay? They're specifically targeting his officers, his best guys. Utalainen cannot have this happen. He turns to Simo, basically says, go get him. So that next morning before the sun comes up, Simo goes, has a big breakfast, and then takes off. He goes to the general area where this sniper's been operating, and he inserts himself in, and he builds a little snow berm, and he packs the snow down really tight, and then he pours water all over it so that it freezes into this ice wall. And this becomes one of his signature tactics. And this is brilliant because Simo is planning ahead for failure. He is planning on missing his first shot. He never does, but it never hurts to be ready for the worst possible
be prepared.
outcome. You see, because Simo already knows growing up in this environment and hunting his whole life that the first time you fire that bullet, snow is going to kick up all around you into a giant cloud. And if the other enemy sniper doesn't know where you are, they're going to know now. So Simo, thinking 10 steps ahead, goes and eliminates the snow factor. He turns all the snow around him into ice so that there's nothing to kick up at all. And
That's
then he
smart.
just lays there still all day long, not moving. He's constantly putting ice and snow into his mouth so that his breath doesn't create fog, so that there's no way of possibly seeing this guy.
Bro, that
And he
is
waits,
brilliant.
And he waits all day long, and soon enough, the sun starts going down. And as the sun is going down behind Simo, he ends up catching a glint off the enemy sniper's scope, but he's not in a hurry, so he waits. So now he knows where the enemy sniper is, but he's patient, and he just keeps waiting, and he keeps waiting, and the sun keeps going further and further down, and it's getting darker and darker, and soon we're at the point where there's going to be nothing but starlight in 15 minutes. And at that point, the Soviet sniper just stands the fuck up out of nowhere, like it was the bell just rang, and it's lunchtime at the factory. He just gets up because his shift is over, and he starts walking back to camp, and Simo drops him one shot straight to the head.
Jesus.
What an idiot!
So Simo reports back to Utalainen, hey, solved the problem, no issue. It's been like 18 hours and Simo's already got this guy down, and this guy's been wreaking havoc on his men for like a week and a half. So Simo is obviously super legit, at which point Utalainen basically just lets him off the leash. Like, hey, whatever you're doing, just fucking keep doing it. Go
Keep
win.
killing
This is what
Russians.
Simo does every single day. He goes out, he builds his ice berm into a couple of different locations that he has already set up, and he is just picking off Russians left and right. And unlike other snipers at the time that were trying to prioritize high-value targets like officers, Simo absolutely was not, which makes sense
Take out the
because
snipers.
his family farm is right down the road. Like, his family, his friends, where he grew up is literally under attack right now. If you
Fair.
were wearing a Russian uniform and
You're
he
dead.
saw you, you were a dead man. Simo got asked about this later in life, and he replied, and I quote, "I shot when I saw the enemy. I didn't care if they were a leader." Simo is literally treating the front line.
Valid. Very valid. Like, when you have everything you care about, your family, like Nick said, like his family, his friends, his home, they were all like around where he grew up, right? That's where they're currently fighting at. So Simo, he had more at stake, because if the Russians get through, if the Russians get there, it's wraps, right? So for him, it was basically life or death. And obviously it was life or death. It's war, right? But he had the lives of his family and his friends and his entire livelihood on his back of his shoulders. He knows if if he didn't kill those Soviets, those Russian soldiers, they were going to basically harm the people that he loved and cared about the most, and everything they cared about the most. So it made it easier for him to just constantly start gunning down, sniping one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, after another Russian. And it didn't matter to him who it was. It didn't matter if it was like some random foot soldier. It didn't matter if it was. It didn't matter if it was a commander. It doesn't matter what. Basically, if he saw you and you're a Russian, you're a dead man walking.
Like it is a shooting gallery at the state fair. There are multiple days where he is logging between 10 and 20 confirmed kills.
That's
so
crazy.
At this point, Simo starts to get a ton of notoriety within the Finnish military, and it gets to the point where whenever there's a problem, it doesn't matter if it's a forward observer that's shooting accurate artillery, it doesn't matter if it's an enemy sniper, anywhere on the front line, they would send for Simo, and they would pick him up, escort him to that part of the front line, and he would go handle the problem. And the best part about this is you gotta remember, this is Finland in December in 1935. So when they send for Simo, they're sending a reindeer-guided fucking sleigh to pick him up and escort him to wherever there's a problem. And he's gonna go out and
1935. I thought this was World War II. Bro, he only died in 2002. He was 96 years old. That's crazy. Yeah, World War II. Yeah, okay. The Winter War. Maybe this is prior to maybe he did some stuff prior to the Winter War. Maybe 1935. He's in 1935, right? All right, or that's Miss here something.
1935. So when they send for about this is you gotta remember, this is Finland in December in 1935.
1935. Did Nick say the wrong date? Hmm. We have 1925 when he. Hmm. A year before the war, training. Okay. Huh.
So when they send for Simo, they're sending a reindeer-guided fucking sleigh to pick him up and
Dude, Rangers are so pretty. Like, I love Rangers. They're so cute animals. So pretty. That's kind of cool. Like, they come send for you, and they just come with, like, a Ranger, so that's so badass.
Escort him to wherever there's a problem, and he's gonna go out and solve it. He's like the shitty inverse of Santa Claus, except instead of leaving a lump of coal in your stocking,
He leaves a bullet in your head.
he's gonna put a piece of lead in your fucking forehead.
No witnesses?
So around this point, Simo starts to gain notoriety with the Soviets.
Yeah,
they
man,
start
obviously.
calling him Belia Smirt, aka the White Death.
Yeah,
the
that's-
Soviet government
Jesus.
puts a huge bounty on Simo's head. They're sending in counter-sniper teams to take out the White Death, and every single time Simo kills all of them. They never stand a
God
chance.
damn.
The man can shoot 16 rounds a minute accurately out of his Mosin. He's wearing white camouflage in the snow. He's turned all the snow around him into ice, so there's no kicking up snow. You can't see his breath. He doesn't have a scope to catch a glint of. He's literally eliminated
That's
luck from the
right.
scenario.
He's not using a sniper scope. He's using the iron sight. That's so smart. That's crazy. Like, yeah, because most of these snipers are using we're using a sniper scope. But Simo was just using an iron sight. That's crazy.
He is a complete ghost, and he's just wiping the floor with the entire Soviet military. So eventually the Soviets are like, okay, we're just gonna quit fucking with this guy. We're gonna quit sending men into that area of operation where we know the White Death is, and we're just gonna focus on other areas. And Simo takes this as his opportunity to go play offense. So he goes to Utalainen and is like, hey, give me a squad of guys. I'm gonna lead them into battle. We're gonna go behind enemy lines, and we're gonna take the fight to them. So Simo starts leading a squad past enemy lines at dusk every night, and they would literally ski miles and miles behind enemy lines where the Soviets think they're safe. And back there, they just have these massive bonfires that they're all sitting around eating dinner, drinking, smoking, having a good time at the end of the day. And Simo and his men would ski to within like 100 meters of them, dismount, and low crawl till they were right up on top of them. And then Simo and his men would pop up with submachine guns, mow down all the Russians, and then steal all their equipment, all their guns, all their ammo, all their food, and fucking bounce
That's
back to the front
dude,
line.
that's
Okay,
so
it's literally
cool.
guerrilla warfare on ice. It's absolutely terrifying. And you gotta realize, this is all within the span of like a month. By December 25th, 1935, Simo already had over 100 confirmed kills, and his record was 25 men in a single day. So the Soviet-
I'm still not for sure where 1935 is coming from. Am I just dumb? Am I missing something here? Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Because in like 1939, he had 138 kills in 22 days. In 1940, he had 199 kills in 61 in 35 days. In 1940, he had 219 cyber kills. He had 20 in 22 days. In March 1940, one day after he was wounded, he had a total of 259 sniper kills. 40 in 18 days. Yeah, I'm not for sure though. I'm not seeing where he's getting, because the Battle of Kola was in 1939 to 1940. The Winter War was in 1939 to 1940, and then the Continuation War was 1941 to 1944. I'm not for sure where next getting the 1930. Am I missing something? Am I just? Yeah, see, his year of service was 1925, 1976, and 1939, 1940. So does Nick mean 1939 and not 1935? Because I'm sure I don't know like where he's getting 1935 from. Unless this is like a. God. 31. Soviet-Finnish War, Civil War. Quick guard. So this is 1918 to 1922, and then it's not. Yeah, I'm not sure where the next game 1935 from. Hmm. I think he means 1939. I could be wrong though, but because I'm not sure where he's getting 1935 from, unless I'm just missing something. Civil War. Huh. Yeah, I'm not for sure. I'm gonna guess Nick means 1939, 1935. That's my best guess.
It's double. They triple their efforts trying to take out the White Death. They start sending in counter sniper teams with forward observers with them, and then as soon as Simo shoots one of them, they start just calling in artillery in the general area that Simo's in, but they never ever hit him. Whether it's luck or divine intervention or just fate, Simo makes it away every
Simo is the main character. He's plot armor.
single time. And the best part is every single time they try to do this tactic, the odds of them actually accomplishing their goal gets less and less because every time they're sending in their best guys and Simo.
And every time they miss him, like they always give Simo like all the information he needs. Like they missed their artillery, right? They missed their sniper shot or whatever, or the glint from their sniper like bounced off the sunlight or whatever. And Simo sees that and like, oh, there they are. Like, bro, like for every time they try to like, kill Simo, all they're doing is like giving him the information he needs. They're going to start going like a sniping spree.
Simo's killing him, so the quality of the men that Simo's going up against is constantly deteriorating. By January of 1940, Simo is an absolute legend. With
Okay,
over
yeah. See, he said 1940 now. See, I think it was just a mix-up. I think he said 1935 by accident, but he meant to say 1939.
200 confirmed kills, 51 of which he got in 3 days. One of his other records at this point in time was he managed to take out 5 enemy snipers in a single day.
That's
because
crazy.
of everything Simo's accomplished around the same point in time, Utalainen's boss, the general in charge of that entire front, pulls Simo back and they have a ceremony where they award him with an honorary rifle. It's also a Mosin just like his, but it's, very nice, decorative one, and they award it to him. And you have to realize at this point in time, Simo is very, very important to the Finnish war effort. Not only is he out there just being a one-man army, wrecking house, taking it to the Soviets, but he's also huge for the morale of the entire Finnish military. Like, he is the hero that everybody's looking to, like, this guy's on our side, we might be able to win this. He is such a big deal that the general's wife knits him a pair of wool mittens, okay?
Aw.
It sounds like just like a nice pleasantry, but do you know how fucking gangster you have to be for the general's wife to feel motivated to knit you in particular a pair of mittens?
Bro, he's the main character. He's just built different. He was born on a higher plane than us peasants or us plebeians. He was born to kill Russians.
Okay, that means the general is going home every night telling his wife, like, sweetheart, the White Death is the shit. He's the key to winning this war. He's everything right now. And the wife is like, oh shit, I better do something nice for this guy because he's literally gonna save the whole country by himself. So Simo gets his ceremonial rifle, gets his wool mittens. He's
That's
also
cool.
awarded a pocket watch, which at this point in time is a huge deal to have a watch. So he gets all that. And usually at this point in time, bigger, more powerful countries like America would pull you back and use you for war bonds, parade you around the.
Yeah, like watches back at this time in like 1930s, 1940s, right? It was still like watches were still very, very expensive. Like I'm not saying pocket watches aren't cheap today, right? Because like getting a nice pocket watch is it's still pretty pricey today. Like back then, like if it's it's like solid gold pocket watches, like those would cost you a pretty penny. Back in like the late 1930s, early 1940s. That's crazy.
the country, but they send Simo right back into action because they can't afford to not have him on the front lines.
Fair.
So Simo gets right back to work. He's playing cat and mouse with the Russians. Whenever they want to send men in, Simo picks them off. Whenever they don't want to send men in, Simo skis in with a squad, mows them down at their campfire. And this goes on for months. Simo just straight up farming the Russians for XP. And
Makes
by
sense.
March of 1940, the Russians grew impatient and they
XP and supplies, because he literally, like, he literally took the fight to him several times. And like as him and his buddies like killed the Russians, they'll take their food, supplies, and head back to their side.
Launch a major attack, and Simo said that the Russians just kept coming, just wave after wave, just meat wall tactics of I'm gonna march my men into your gunfire until you run out of bullets, and hopefully I've got more men. And during this time, Simo's not up hiding at his ice wall with his Mosin. There's too many Russians for that. He's on the front line leading a squad of infantry with his submachine gun, absolutely taking the fight to the Russians. Simo had actually said that he had heard rumors that the Soviets were using the machine guns on their tanks to basically force the men to march into gunfire, and if they wouldn't go, they would mow them down with the tank. And after seeing how many men were just coming straight at their lines, getting mowed down, Simo believed it. During this time, Simo set his all-time record for killing 40 men in a single day.
Damn.
Simo continues to lead his squad into battle until on March 6th at 2 p.m.
Okay. It takes a war crime to take him down, maybe?
Simo continues to lead his squad into battle until on March 6th at 2 p.m. when he feels what he describes as a suppressed bang inside of his mouth. He then said that he immediately felt his mouth was full of bone fragments and blood before losing consciousness.
Jesus.
Simo doesn't know this yet, but he has just been shot in the face with an exploding bullet, which is actually
what the
been a war
hell?
crime since the 1800s, but, you know, hey, so is launching a false flag event to invade Finland to begin with, so why stop at one? Simo is then scooped off the front lines and taken back to an aid station where he is triaged. Triage is the act of medics basically sorting out all of their patients to, you know, the people that need to make it to the hospital right now on the next truck to have a chance at surviving, the people that can, you know, lay here for a couple of hours and they'll probably be fine, walking wounded, and the final category, expectant, which basically means they're dead or they're going to die before they make it to the hospital, and we're not going to waste the space on the next truck. He is literally thrown into a pile of other dead Finnish soldiers.
Oh, no.
We don't know how much time passes, but eventually somebody ends up seeing Simo's foot moving in this, what is now a mass grave. They then end up getting Simo out, they get him to the hospital, and he is in a coma for the next 7 days. He then wakes up in the hospital on March 13th, 1940, the very same day the Soviets sign a peace treaty with Finland, effectively ending the Winter War. Coincidence? I think not.
You're supposed to be dead!
Okay, now obviously I'm being facetious, but for real, there's a greater than a 0% chance that the Russian military got a memo like, hey, we thought we killed the White Death.
He's still alive.
He just woke up, and the Soviet Union is like, fuck this, I'm out. The Finns
Literally.
have the Terminator on their team. There's no other explanation. The dude has to be hacking, okay? He's got over 500 confirmed kills at this point by running around in the hills, no-scoping people, and then we shoot him in the face, and he still doesn't die. Not only that, it was an exploding bullet. Literally a war crime because it's so deadly, and the dude just takes a 7-day nap about it, and now he's going back into combat.
Kill more
We're
Russians.
done. Sign the armistice. Winter War's over. We've had enough.
Cisu.
Now, the war ending is actually great news for Simo because now the hospitals aren't constantly under the threat of getting over.
So this right here is the reason this, you know, after the explosion was, you know, the explosive bullet. After the explosive bullet, it basically like messed up his face. So like he spent the rest of his life basically like disfigured after the explosive bullets basically blew up in his face.
were run by Soviets or getting hit with artillery, so they're going to actually be able to get him the surgeries and care that he needs to make the best recovery humanly possible. He spends the next 14 months in the hospital where he undergoes 26 reconstructive surgeries on his face and jaw. After those surgeries, Simo makes a pretty good recovery. He gets released from the hospital, he is released from his military duties, and unfortunately, part of the armistice between the USSR and Finland is that some of the lands that Finland had got relinquished over to the USSR.
They lost this right here. They lost this right here. They lost this, and then they lost like all the islands down here, the Gulf of Finland islands. They basically had to cede all this territory, and the Honko Island down here too. And I think it was like something like 15% of their territory at the time. I think I might be wrong about that. But yeah, it was like some absurd amount of territory.
Including Simo's farm. So the Finnish government actually gives Simo a new farm with a house roughly the same size, same type terrain, as close as he could get back to his old home. And from there, he just goes back to doing what he was doing before. He's farming, he's hunting, he's walking around in the woods by himself. He just goes back to doing his thing. For his service, he was awarded the 1st and 2nd class Medals of Liberty, the 3rd and 4th class Crosses of Liberty, and in 1941, he was nominated for the Mannerheim Cross, which is the Finnish equivalent of the American Medal of Honor.
That's
but
cool.
Unfortunately, that medal didn't actually get conceived until 1941, which is after Simo's service, so a lot of the paper pushers inside the Finnish government denied him getting the Mannerheim Cross because I guess his service was before that award existed, so
That's
that
dumb.
wouldn't make sense, so he never actually got the Mannerheim Cross, but the man deserved it 1,000%. The final stat...
That's so dumb. Bro, like, I guess I can see why they want to give it to him, because, like, yeah, he was retired from military service by the time the award was created. But, like, you could have been, like he's literally, like, the most famous Finnish soldier and the greatest sniper of all time. You could have made an exception for him and gave him the award.
For his short time in combat were 542 confirmed kills,
Jesus.
249 of which were from his Mosin Nagant with nothing but iron sights, and
God
the rest
damn.
were from his submachine gun.
That's
now,
crazy.
These stats have been criticized by both, historians in academia and internet comment sections today, aka a bunch of people that weren't actually fucking there, but these stats are validated by both his company commander and his company chaplain, the people that were there. And if that wasn't enough, which it should be, but just in case you think it's not, in 2017, well after his passing, his nephew stumbled across Simo's personal memoirs that he had never published, never let anyone else see, that he had written down for himself. And in his personal writings, again, to himself, that he never tried to get published, that he would have absolutely no reason to lie on, he says that he killed well over 500 men. But ultimately, Simo didn't, and probably wouldn't to this day if he was still around, care what you thought, because he wasn't doing it because he wanted the glory. He just went back to farming. He led a...
He literally just wanted to protect his homeland. He wanted to protect his family. He wanted to protect his lands. He wanted to protect his country. He wanted to protect his friends. That's all he wanted. He wasn't doing it for glory. He wasn't doing it for anything like that. He just wanted to protect his home and his friends and family. That's it. That's all he cared about was his friends, his family, his home. Just farming. Dude, the fact this man lived to 2002 and it was 97 when he died. Like, that's mind-boggling. The guy's just built different.
Humble life. He didn't want to be known as the White Death. He just wanted to be left alone. That was his happily ever after, just living on a farm, doing his own thing, and that's exactly what he got. Okay, worth noting, he passed away in 2002 at the age of 96. The Soviet Union fell in 1991, okay? Simo Häyhä took the fight to the
He literally outlived the Soviet Union.
enemy to a degree that no other singular human ever has in the history of the world, and then he gets shot in the face with an exploding bullet, again, a literal war crime, shrugs it off, and then proceeds to live longer than the country that he went to war with. That's gangster as fuck.
Hell yeah.
That is the story of Simo Häyhä, the White Death, the farmer's son that rose to the occasion, defended his country against all odds, showing the enemy the true meaning of Cisu. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
Dude, Simo is literally the main character. The man was just built different. That's crazy. He lived to be 96, 97. He outlived the Soviet Union, so, you know, get fucked, Soviet Union. Like, bro, it's crazy. Common L for the communist, you know. Very common L for the communist. Oh, man. You know, when the commies fail, or when the commies die, it's a great day for everybody around, you know. The only good commie is a dead commie. But yeah, if you guys like the content, the commentary, do me a favor, hit the button. If you're new, stick around. If you're recommend subscribe and already Center Mafia. And make sure you go check out the Fat Electrician. Go check him out. He's one of the best storytellers on YouTube. If you love history, if you love war stories, Nick is your man. He's a bunch of them. He's great. He's awesome. He's hilarious. Also, make sure you check out this video. I'll put the link to this video in the box below. If you want to watch it on my commentary, make sure you go there. Leave a like that. Bam. Easy. But yeah. Anyways. It says there. Peace.
Go and build on myself so I can truly build. Hey.